Let's see. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Jimmy Dunaway. How are you?
I'm good, man. I was just looking at the boot trophy. It looks like if those are jagged edges, the Mississippi River, that could be used like a weapon to chop some heads off.
I've always, my lighting's a little hot, isn't it? I've always thought that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it seems sharp.
it does. It seems like a
Looks like,
sharp trophy. Not as a
yeah,
good looking, but sharp. Yeah,
yeah, sharp like could hurt you sharp. I mean, it's
yeah,
just basically jagged pieces of metal.
yeah. I mean, it looks like
Yeah,
it's
it's
very
exactly what
thin.
it is.
Yeah,
I know.
I thought there was more
Yeah,
bulk to it. To be honest with you, that is a
seems quite
dangerous
dangerous.
trophy. It is.
I
Keep your
know.
helmets on, guys. Ooh, okay.
Um, okay. I was sending this out. Good day for you. You have fun watching football all day,
I have eaten way too much today, to be honest with you,
right?
which is why I will wear a maternity sweatshirt tonight to
Okay.
cover up my gut.
You don't have to
Um,
explain.
but let me tell you, the landmine has been record pace today. I
It
mean,
has.
I mean, yeah,
There's one we
Thursday,
can't talk about
Thursday,
yet. One we can't talk about yet. You know that.
Thursday. Well, probably never. Thursday, Friday, Saturday was just when you go Robert Woods to what happened in the Auburn game. Just whew,
Yeah.
landmine city.
All right. We've let people jump on here so we can get started. I was going to see if Texas, what's that, 44 seconds? You boy Sark's trying to pull one out of the fire here.
It's a big
They,
game,
they got the ball back.
Everybody has that La Monroe moment, man.
Yeah. They're down inside the 25. He's got to score a touchdown, though.
Pretty big,
Kansas is
pretty
tough
big.
this time. Once basketball season starts, Kansas is tough, man.
We'll do an in-show update on that one. Let's knock this out
You
for
want to
all
do
our
an
viewers.
intro?
Let's bring the energy, man. Let's go. Let's get this fired up
You're
before they
ready
turn
to
off
get
on us here. Here we go.
you're ready to get done and go to bed. I can tell.
No,
All
I'm
right.
gonna watch it every second of this Washington State Oregon game. I just don't like to ease into this, man. I like some excitement here. Get these people fired up that are watching us.
Well,
I'll
they're
just sit here and
jumping
do that.
in, man.
I'll just do this until you're ready to talk.
What are you, the hype man?
I don't know. I'm trying to a little excitement in this. I imagine people watching around the country. Oh, let me see what this is. It's
Some idiot waving his hands. Oh, it's a touchdown right there. This is going to go to overtime. All right, let's get this baby going. Welcome in to the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. Along with Jim Dunaway, I'm Ryan Brown. We thank Culver's for bringing you the show each and every Saturday. And as always, you can find Culver's right there, all 459 and 150 Stadium Trace coming soon to Tattersall Park 119 and 280. Jimmy D, what is up, man? How are you?
no, a really interesting day of college football. The 11 o'clock window was fantastic. A rare 4 or 5 Saturdays out of the year I'm not at a stadium. This is the last time I'm at home on a Saturday. I'll be at Bama, Arkansas next week, the Iron Bowl, and then hopefully one of those teams will be in the SEC championship. Looks like it's going to be Alabama right now. I mean, the scenario with A&M losing tonight opened the door for Alabama to sort of roll into the ATL.
All they'll have to do is beat Arkansas next week. That makes it official and would render the Iron Bowl in terms of the SEC West would render the Iron Bowl meaningless. So there was a minute a couple of weeks ago where we started to envision an Iron Bowl for the West, actually, right? That winner of the Iron Bowl goes to Atlanta, and Auburn has played their way out of that. And if Alabama can win in the 2:30 CBS game against Arkansas next week, Alabama will play their way out of an Iron Bowl for the West. So it's always got meaning to us, Jim, but it's going to have maybe a little bit less meaning now after what Auburn did today.
Well, I mean, it'll have meaning for Alabama if they beat Arkansas for the national championship race and the college football playoff race, but you don't want to rely on a 2-loss conference championship and a win over Georgia to get in there. Though I think there's a case to be made they still could do that. But it will be huge, and I think let's start with Alabama because if the goal is still to be national champion, which it is, the injuries that you get in this week when you're playing a lesser opponent is actually, I think, bigger than the outcome of the game. I mean, you win the game, exactly the way everybody thought you were going to win the game, but you get a couple of injuries, specifically to Roydell, that Nick Saban says looks to be long term, and that is a big impact because you're already down one guy at running back that was playing a lot, and now it's Brian Robinson and nobody else that you've really relied on ever. So
Well,
that's a concern.
yeah, it's Trey Sanders, who, obviously was a really good running back when he came to Alabama, and he had a bad injury and then a horrific car accident. And he's a guy that, I think they really like him and how hard he's worked for this team, but he was fourth team for a reason, right? I mean, it was Brian Robinson, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, and Trey Sanders. And, that depth chart isn't just randomly done. There's a reason he was there. So all of a sudden, your backup is a guy that started the season as your fourth teamer. So they've got some issues at running back. That said, they haven't been running the ball particularly well, even with Brian Robinson in there. So, Jim, I think this team against Arkansas, against Auburn, if they're fortunate enough to win one of those two games and make it to Atlanta and play Georgia, this team's probably going to be reliant on the pass game with Bryce Young anyway. So it is a big injury. There's no doubt because you are painfully thin at running back now. But it's also not a team that is built on the run. It's a team that is built more on Bryce Young in the pass. So I guess where I think it probably hurts Alabama is the experience in picking up the pressure on Bryce Young, right? You're going to have Trey Sanders in there that just hasn't done that much.
Yeah, that's my whole point is, I mean, the whole position, not just carrying the football, but, being a receiver out of the backfield, picking up the blitzes and all that goes with that. That is a tremendous part of what a running back does. And, I mean, it's just all on Brian Robinson right now moving forward. And, I don't know, Wheaton got injured before the season started. I don't know where he is on this. Everybody's been waiting to see the big 5-star recruit. So I don't know where, what he will be or if he can be a factor down the stretch. We'll know next week when we get to Bryant-Denny Stadium on how they'll handle the situation. But, I think that ends up being, and it seems like it happens this way every year on this game when it's this late November game against either a FCS opponent or in this case, a one-win New Mexico State team when you're a 51.5-point favorite. It seems like you lose one good player. Today it was two, but at least one good player every year in this game. And I know there's no particular reason why, and you may lose a player if you're playing Arkansas this week, but it just seems so frustrating to lose somebody on a day like this, especially somebody so important as Roydell. And then you look at playmakers to maybe have breakout games down the stretch when you need somebody to step forward and be an unknown, out of nowhere star of a game. And JoJo Earl always had that potential. And who knows how long he's going to be out. But, him getting banged up today, too, is nothing positive at all.
Yeah, JoJo Earl had really been he hasn't been a huge impact offensively for Alabama. They've got him back there receiving punts for a reason. I think they think he can be a game breaker receiving punts. Slade Bolden's been back there a good bit, too, so that's what they'll go to for that. Earl has not been the impact I thought he would be. You hate to see the injury. I'm not, saying anything about that. I'm just saying, it's not as if you've lost John Metchie or Jamison Williams there. You've lost a guy that had a role, but he was probably, if you start looking at Alabama's receiving threats, Williams and Metchie are 1-2, Billingsley, Latu are 3-4, Bolden is 5. And then you start to talk about JoJo Earl. So it's a guy that was on down the list. But they had him back receiving punts for a reason. Again, those decisions aren't made by accident. There's something they really liked in his punt return game. So that's very unfortunate for JoJo Earl. I really liked that kid and thought he would at some point have that explosive game where he broke out and maybe even worked himself into the number 3 slot for the Alabama receiving corps.
Yeah, and I think that was, that had the potential of happening, whether it be against Arkansas, Auburn, Georgia in the SEC championship game. I mean, when you get to a crucial game, it is always the unsung hero. And that could be a guy who is not, that hasn't been counted on before. You get those, I go back and I remember, a tight end making a big catch to beat Florida and Tebow in 2009. And you go from peak to all these guys. There's always somebody. at one big moment of the season is going to make a play or have a game that you go, man, out of nowhere, that person helps us win a championship. But Bryce threw the ball well today. Another great day for Jamison Williams, just scooting up and down the field. He's got, afterburners to spare as he had a huge day. So for Alabama, it's the virtual bye against New Mexico State. Everybody has them in their schedule. Bama gets dinged because it's in November by Joel Klatt. Chatter, chatter, chatter from Joel every year. Same thing. I mean,
I don't even think he said it this year, though. Has he said
no, he
anything
did.
this year?
Oh yeah, I watched it on the game today.
Oh, did he?
The guy, the Stone guy who, had the audio up at that time on that TV. Stone, whatever his first name is, who's there, Reese Davis for their show.
Yeah.
Rob Stone. He goes, coming up at halftime, we'll talk about so and so, and Alabama playing New Mexico State, doing what you would think Alabama would do to a team like that. I'm sure Joel could go a half hour on that. Back to you guys. And Joel, it's the tease coming up for halftime. And Joel says, listen, Oklahoma played Western Carolina. The difference is they played them in September. The SEC schedules for championships. And, you have 8 conference games. They're spread out by the league, and you've got to fill in games after that. And, when a lot of people were playing, the New Mexico States of the world, Alabama was playing Miami, or they were playing Florida, in a conference game. And while everyone else was still playing the Western Carolinas or the Akrons of the world. So Auburn was going to Penn State in week 3. So they had a game late in the year or somewhere along the way that wasn't tough. It's what it is. I mean, if you're going to gripe about the time change every year, it happens every year. So Joel can gripe about that every year. It happens every year.
Joel will be on the show Friday, by the way, so you can talk to him about it then. Let's do some listener response here. He's on Friday.
Okay.
Charles, this is the most underwhelming Heisman race I can ever remember. It's week 11, and nobody has really stood out. Might be prime for Anderson to seriously win it. The Vegas favorite is still Bryce Young. I agree with Charles. I think Anderson's the best player in America, but facts are, Dunaway, it's a quarterback's award. Bryce Young added another 270 yards and 5 touchdowns today. He now has 28 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's been so good, so dependable, and he plays for Alabama, so he's going to be tough to beat on this. But I don't disagree at all with Charles. It is a pretty underwhelming race right now.
I would go a friendly, crisp $100 bill that Bryce Young doesn't win the Heisman Trophy.
Who would you put that $100 bill on?
With you, I'd go with you. I just don't think he'll win the Heisman Trophy.
Who would you pick to win? Not bet. I know you're betting with me.
I'm just anybody but. I don't think they're going to give it to the Alabama freshman quarterback. When I say they, the 999 million voters out there. If Michigan State keeps winning and they get to the Big Ten championship game, there'll be a lot of love for Kenneth Walker. You say it's a quarterback award, and I don't disagree with you, though we had a receiver who won it last year, and we've had 2 Alabama running backs who won it. And I think, Walker's numbers being compared to Derrick Henry a little bit helps him out to some degree. But, Aaron Suttles of Bama and Bourbon, part of the Double Down Media family, had an interesting tweet this afternoon comparing what Will Anderson is doing with 19 and a half sacks in 22 games. That's almost a sack a game for him. That is easily the second best sack per game record at Alabama. Like Kendall Moorhead and all those who are like 3rd and 4th on the list are at half a sack a game on average. He's at almost a full sack a game. Derek Thomas was 1.05 sacks per game in his career. So that's the kind of greatness Will Anderson is throwing out there, Derek Thomas greatness. And I do think that if we get closer and Alabama wins big games against Arkansas and against Auburn, and Will Anderson has a couple of more sacks, there will be some talk of Will Anderson getting votes. And I think that's what will end up taking. I don't think a lot of people will put 2 Alabama players on their 3 slots that they get when they're putting down the ballot. And I think there will be a lot of people that'll go, you know what? The best player on Alabama's team is Will Anderson. I'm going to put him down there. And I think that would hurt Bryce, which is why I think a guy like Kenneth Walker from Michigan State could be that guy. But to his point, is it lackluster if we don't know who's going to win it, or is it more exciting that we don't know who's going to win it. We don't, and it's Marcus Mariota from start to finish. I find it more interesting this way, and it may just turn out whoever has the best December first Saturday in December championship game may pull out and be the guy when it's all said and done.
All right, Dirty Def says, has this freshman class been the least impactful at Alabama during the Saban era? You could probably make that argument. You know, you don't have any of the receivers that have stepped up and done anything of note in a situation where you had some openings at receiver where you could have made a play. The offensive linemen certainly have not helped out. I think you could make the argument that this is one of the least impactful freshman signing classes in the Saban era.
Well, I mean, usually you get, I would say just off the top of my head, and I haven't studied this, but it seems like you get 3 to 5 impact freshmen that play almost immediately, right? And they're not always starters, but they're in the rotation. You see them out there making plays 3 to 5. So have you seen 3 to 5 this year? Can you name 3 to 5 that on a day in and day out basis? I don't think you can. So, you know, I mean, we're looking for things to complain about. I guess they haven't taken advantage of an opportunity yet, but you know, if these injuries keep piling up, by the time you get to Atlanta to play the big bad dogs, you may need some of those guys.
It is the Culver's Saturday Breakout. Welcome to Delicious. One more before we take a quick pause here. Denon asked an important question. Where can I buy a TNR hat? Don't know where you were wearing an extra round hat. He wants to know where you can buy one of those. Yep. You don't even know what hat you're wearing.
I did not know which hat it was. I mean, I could have had the golf tees hat. I had it on earlier today when I went to get breakfast. I could have had on my Vulcan tire hat, which I had on when I went to get my hot dogs.
Right. But you've got on the next round hat. Can we buy those yet?
had a Taco Mama hat on when I went to get the barbecue down at the end of the street in a food truck. So I've worn them all today, Brown. I don't think we can get these yet. Are they on the store yet?
I don't think they're on the side. I don't think they're on the store yet. Next round store, nextroundlive.com, next round store. You waving at? Next round live,
Harper.
next round store. Okay. Well,
my daughter just made it home. Yep.
She's at mine too. How strange.
Yeah. She's leading our discovery this weekend at our church at Asbury. So she's back from college and is staying here at the house.
Yeah. Good. Jonathan asked, is that a Richardson hat? May need one of those too. It is a Richardson hat. Yep. Mm-hmm. I am shocked at how many people love that hat. Yeah, it's a Richardson hat. So that's what it will be. That's what it will be.
There it is.
Yep. There you go. So yeah, when they finally come out and they're finally in the store, it will definitely be a Richardson hat. You'll be able to get those. We'll have several different styles that you've seen Dunaway wear the rope hat. We'll have those as well. All right, it is the Saturday Breakout. More of your reaction coming up, as always. Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. Couple of great locations soon. Right now, 150, 459, and Stadium Trace and Hoover. Coming soon to Highway 119, 280, Tattersall Park, Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. It is the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. More reaction coming in right now. Here is Matthew. We were just talking moments ago, Dunaway, about impact freshmen. Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, the two that popped up. There's two good ones.
Dallas Turner, two really good ones.
And Kool-Aid. Yep. Two really good ones.
Dallas Turner, man, is getting better each week. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep. So there you go. There's two. All right, Dunaway, let's talk Auburn. Let's talk Auburn and Mississippi State. With shades of the Falcons Super Bowl, a 28-3 second quarter lead for Auburn. Jimmy, they were in complete control of that game, doing what they wanted to offensively. Bo Nix was looking really, really good. Bigsby was running the ball. That Derek Mason defense had the air raid shut down and a switch flip right before the half. And all of a sudden, State took that game over and never gave it back to Auburn. That was one heck of a run.
It was 40-0 run for Mississippi State. And, you know, I have so many emotions as a non-Auburn fan about this because I have a lot of Auburn friends. And to me, my first emotion would be, how in the world can you be beating a team 28-3 and then it just flip around like that? And I mean, Will Rogers was completing like 14 passes in a row, incomplete pass, 17 passes in a row, incomplete pass. How could that be the case? And there seemed to be zero adjustments coming from the Auburn defense as that happened in the second half.
Well,
Now
yeah,
I
they
don't know
kept
the
rushing
X's.
through. They kept rushing
Yeah,
three. They kept rushing three and dropping in coverage done away, and just no blitzes, no pressure on Rodgers. He just had all day to throw.
yeah. Well, in that what Barry Odom did and Nick Saban and them did against them last year, dropped three and those eight covered, and they couldn't figure it out. But that didn't work for Auburn today. It worked for Arkansas last year. It's worked for Alabama twice. So I don't know. I don't know why you couldn't mix it up a little bit, and then why all of a sudden the offense looked as bad as it looked, but it did. And then Bo, banged up that ankle, and then at that point he's playing on one leg the rest of the way, gutting that out. Looked to be a pretty serious injury with Bo, to be honest with you. The way he was limping around out there, and without his ability to escape, that's almost like him playing one-handed at that point. And then Finley went in there and just was horrible. And that quick look when he gave the ball back up. So I don't know. I know I tweeted instantly when it was 28-3 that the Mississippi State kickers are holding an open tryout for play callers this week. And
Yeah, how'd that
then
go? How'd that go after that tweet?
they went on a 40-0 run after I sent that tweet out. 40-0 run after that tweet. But I mean, their play calling was horrible. Mike Leach and that offense looked horrible when it was 28-3. And you bring up Falcons Patriots. That game did not look that way. The Patriots, that may have been the score, but the Patriots didn't look that bad like Mississippi State looked. And the Falcons didn't look that good like Auburn looked. And then it just flipped totally around. It never looked I mean, that was black and white, and then it was white and black at that point. It was just unbelievable.
Trace asked on Facebook, Will Rogers, is he legit? Buddy, he was today. 6 touchdowns, 415 pass yards on the season, 3,300 pass yards. That's fourth in the country. 23 touchdowns, 8 picks. He threw 0 interceptions and had the 6 touchdowns today. He was legit today, but traditionally those air raid guys haven't worked in the NFL. If that's the question he's asking, those guys traditionally have not worked in the NFL.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think he's going to play in the NFL? No, I don't think so. Would you take him in Tuscaloosa? No, you wouldn't. Would you take him? I'm not even sure you'd take him in Athens, Georgia. You know what I mean? I don't think you'd take him in Oxford, Mississippi. Probably take him in College Station tonight. But I mean, it's the system, and some days it works, and some days it doesn't, and then some days it works when it shouldn't work. I mean, that team shouldn't have beat La Tech. They came back and scored 3 touchdowns in a quarter to beat La Tech.
That is right.
They almost came back last week and won, right?
Yep.
If they had field goal kickers,
they'd had a kicker
won last week.
Yep. If they'd had the kicker, yeah.
And then here they are this week, coming back from 28-3 to win a football game. That just doesn't usually happen. So you can't live the way Mike Leach has gotten a couple of wins this year. It will not continue to work.
Bo Nix is a story to watch. He was banged up, and you could tell he was banged up in that game. Limping around, really was ineffective running the football like he normally does. Any pressure, he was stuck in that pocket. You could see the noticeable limp after he got that ankle turned. And I think the Finley thing wasn't that Nix was ineffective, Jim. He had just led them on a scoring drive. I think Nix had just reached his limit. I mean, is that kind of how you felt? I don't think it was performance related.
From what I'm told, down people that were there at the stadium covering the game, he went as long as he could go, and then the pain got to where he could not go anymore. So Finley went in because of injury, not because of performance. So I don't know how bad it is, what the injury is. I just know that the reason he wasn't in at the end was because of that injury.
Yeah, we're aware of
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We're aware of what everybody thinks it is.
Right. We're aware of the rumors that are there, but those are just rumors. Auburn has not announced anything. There have not been any credible reports about that. But we'll just say it the way we said it, Jim. It is something to watch for Auburn moving forward. I mean, in a lot of ways, after today, this feels like a lost season. You're up 28-3 on an SEC West opponent with still a glimmer of hope of maybe finding a way into the tie that gives you the West. You've got the tiebreak over Ole Miss. If Ole Miss could beat Texas A&M, you beat Alabama. Maybe you can find your way to Atlanta even. But all that fell apart today. So in a lot of ways, this has to feel like a little bit of a lost season for the Tigers. And if Bo Nix is limited or out moving forward, I don't think Auburn fans have very much confidence in TJ Finley.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there was a time when Auburn fans wanted TJ Finley, but I digress.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, 6-4. Am I correct about that? That's where they are. I won't go lost season on that with the loss today. 7-5, 8-4 was sort of what we thought. If you can somehow beat South Carolina, which obviously if Bo's not playing, it's not a given. But if you beat South Carolina 7-5, 7-4, 7-5, or 7-4 going into the Alabama game, and you take your chances there. But if you end up 7-5, I think that was sort of the number everybody put you at. So I wouldn't call it a lost season. It's that first year though for Brian Harsin, and then we'll see what he does to build this team. But if you don't have QB1, going to South Carolina is not a given, and then it makes the Alabama game a lot more difficult, and then obviously a bowl game.
Well, and I'll tell you this, with South Carolina coming up for Auburn, they're playing improved football. They lost to Missouri today, 31-28. But I mean, I'll give Beamer credit, man. He's got them competing. They played Florida, beat Florida. They played Missouri to the horn today. He's got them competing. That's if you're starting TJ Finley or an injured Bo Nix who's just trying to gut it out, that is far from a guaranteed win for Auburn next week against South Carolina.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, every week Florida is one of the toughest games of the year for Alabama, and Samford put 52 on them today. Meanwhile, Alabama went almost 3/4 of zero offensive success against that team. Samford had 42 points in the first half on that team, the most ever allowed by a Florida team in a half of football, 42 points. 52 is the most any FCS has ever scored against an FBS team. And that's what Samford scored on Florida today. So somewhere Todd Grantham was sipping his tea and petting a little white cat, laughing at the fact that they thought it was his problem that the defense was playing so bad. That was that you don't know week to week. So what Auburn gets at South Carolina, you may get the best of Auburn and the worst of South Carolina, just like South Carolina got a lot of good Missouri today, and there's been a lot of times that Missouri hasn't looked good at all. So you don't know what you're going to get week to week, but without Bo, if he can't play, that makes that more difficult for them, obviously.
What do you think of the TD Moultrie targeting? Because, I mean, speaking of that game, Moultrie's out for the first half after getting tossed for targeting. It looks like football play to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the people who will say he launched. I don't think he did. I think what's happening there, and I really I forget which game it was. It was the Ole Miss Texas A&M game. There was a hit on a player that's what we should be calling targeting on, right? Where one guy's holding and the other guy goes and hits him in the head with his helmet lowered. That's targeting. Those are the ones we should be calling. Moultrie, to me, was about to jump to block a pass, and Will Rogers didn't throw the pass. So then he came and he hit him, and he didn't lower his head. I mean, the face mask hit, face mask on face mask. And I don't think that should be called targeting at all. And, I tweeted that it should be intent to injure. And I know intent is something you can't always judge, but I think, we're all pretty smart people, and we can look at something and say, all right, that guy had, that was a violent hit where he was, trying to do damage. And I think Moultrie was trying to He did launch, but it was like he was jumping to block a pass, and then there was no pass. So then you come down to knock the guy down. That's what you do in football. You knock the guy down, and it was face mask on face mask. There's no way I'd have called targeting. And my goodness, early in the game, we stopped action, threw a flag, stopped action to go review a Smoke Monday one, which looked like an average tackle that we see 67 times on each side of the ball. And why we even stopped play there and delayed our afternoon by 90 seconds, I have no idea.
Yeah, McBeaver on Twitch agrees with you. That's why the rule sucks. Technically, it was targeting, but let's be real, it's not a dirty play. This is one of those. It was a great example. The one on the back from the Penn State game. That was
McCrary or whoever he was that was
McCrary.
diving.
Yep. Um, those are the type that, okay, you got to call targeting because that's what the rule is. But it's like you said, Dunaway, it's obvious you're not headhunting a guy. It's obvious you're not trying to injure a guy. It's where I'm okay with the officials having a little bit of discretion and trying to determine intent and say, look, we got to call this targeting, but the kid was trying to block a pass, yada, yada, yada. We're not going to throw him out. If he gets another targeting, now he's out. But on this one, we're going to penalize the 15 or the half the distance, the goal, first down, but we're not throwing him out of the game. That's a perfect example of that rule.
Yeah, to me, everybody in the stadium shouldn't be asking, why are they – I mean, the guys in the broadcast, even Jordan Rogers and whoever the play-by-play guy was, were like, well, I don't know, why would they be stopping play here? I don't think he lost control of the ball, did he? I mean, if the guys who are announcing the game are wondering why we stopped play, it's probably not a violent enough hit that should rise to the level of somebody being ejected from the contest.
Yeah. Bob Wachusen on the play-by-play, by the way, voice of the New York Jets as well. I won't stir up all the analytics.
God bless him for having to call the Jets every week.
He's seen some bad football. Only Dave Neal has seen more bad football. I won't stir up the analytics people on, well, maybe save that for the show, the actual live show on Harsin going for 2 down 9, and not kicking the point to make it a one possession game. But all the analytics people are passionate about that one.
Well, real quickly, Brown, we've gotten to a point where some people say it's better to know earlier,
right,
that you're going to need so many possessions to win the game. I am of the belief that you keep hope alive with the least number of possessions as long as you possibly can. And we get down to the end of the game, and it's all on the table where we've got to go for 2 to tie the game, right? I don't think you go for 2 here, and if you don't make it, then you've got to have 2 more possessions. I like right here because it puts more pressure to me on the opposing team if they know it's a 1 possession game and not a 2 possession game. My opinion.
Yeah, well, and I think clock has to be a consideration. There was 3:37 left there, timeouts left. Yeah, I mean, all those things have to be, I think, factored into that as well. But it's a new way of thinking, and there's math that backs it up. It was not a winning formula for Auburn today. They got stuck at 9 there and ended up actually getting the ball back after the missed field goal.
Yeah. All right, may I say something about sabermetrics real quick? Lane Kiffin kicked field goals tonight and won the football game. Lane Kiffin, if he'd kicked field goals early against Alabama and early against Auburn, who knows what would happen in either one of those games. He kicked field goals tonight, got 3 points on possessions in the red zone, and won a big football game. So you take your sabermetrics with a little dose of sugar and spice there, all you want. Sometimes conventional thinking of kicking a field goal, taking 3 here, stacking those up can win you a football game. It did for Lane tonight. It didn't against Alabama.
All right, the national picture in just a moment, the SEC and national picture. That's a lot on Alabama and Auburn there. More of your reaction. It is the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious, to great locations soon. One right now, 150 and 459 Stadium Trace there in Hoover, coming soon to Tattersall Park, and 280 and 119 Culver's. Welcome to the Delicious. Saturday Breakout. Culver's brings it to you. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. Along with Jim Dunaway, I'm Ryan Brown. All right, let's get to the national picture. Let's start with the biggest national game of the day, and that is the Baylor win over Oklahoma. It was my upset alert, and Baylor really dominated this game. When I gave it as my upset alert, Jim, I said it would be Baylor through the air against that inferior Oklahoma pass defense, opening up the run. That's not what happened at all. Baylor just lined up and ran it right down Alex Grinch's throat, the Oklahoma defensive coordinator. The Sooners had no answer for Baylor.
And I think a lot needs to be said about Dave Aranda as a head coach in year 2 and Jeff Grimes as the first year OC at Baylor, because that team looks, that was a very old school SEC like game as I watched that one play today. We've gotten where we throw the ball around a lot in this league, and Georgia has brought back a little murder ball this year, and it's working for the Bulldogs. But the way Baylor played football today, I think resonates with a lot of SEC fans. And boy, Dave Aranda is impressive. Jeff Grimes has stacked together 2 really good years. I like the way that team looked today. It's a shame they've got 2 losses when it comes to their pursuit of the playoffs, but they're very much in the Big 12 championship race. And I'll be honest with you, I think they got a little advantage in the Big 12 tiebreaker with that late field goal.
They did, and that was going to be my stock up. So when we get back around to stock up, stock down Tuesday, I was going to give Dave Aranda stock up for having the wherewithal. And maybe somebody just told him, I don't know, to know that those 3 points at the end of that game, when they could kick a field goal instead of just running the clock out, whatever the Big 12 tiebreaker is, point differential comes into play in some weird 3-way tie. So he had the wherewithal to realize that that was the case and kick the field goal there. That is, I got to say, man, in the heat of the moment, that's some pretty clear-headed thinking right there by a college head coach.
Well, I don't know if it really does help him in the tiebreaker. It really, really pissed off Lincoln Riley. I know that. And by the way,
you probably only have to face him one more year. That's the key there, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lincoln Riley is on his way to the SEC one way or the other. He's either going to the SEC as the Oklahoma coach, or he's going to the SEC as the LSU coach. And if you followed us since the AM days, we have this phrase called "franning it up." And boy, let me tell you that Oklahoma's offense looked like Lincoln Riley had been spending a lot of time looking for real estate in Los Angeles or Baton Rouge and not coaching up Caleb Williams, because Caleb did not look good today. He got banged up a little bit. I know that, for the Oklahoma people who are complaining to me today on social media, but they're going to have to get thicker skin, by the way, if they're coming to the SEC. The people were cheering when Spencer Rattler came in. The same people that were booing Spencer Rattler wanting Caleb Williams to come in. Now, Oklahoma fan who's really good using the clown emoji on Twitter today would tell me that he was hurt. That's why they made the switch. Probably so. But they went with Spencer Rattler because Caleb wasn't getting the job done. Whether he was not getting it done because he was hurt or whatever, I'll leave that to you and Lincoln Riley. But they went back to Spencer Rattler, and that offense today against the Dave Aranda defense did not look anything like Lincoln Riley, who is considered to be one of the great offensive minds of our time.
Michigan is just hanging in there, man. They are just hanging in there waiting for that Ohio State game to see if they could get the upset. Now, Michigan State plays Ohio State before them, obviously, but the big game at the end, 21-17, they win at Penn State. This has been the type of game Jim Harbaugh doesn't win. So, in a sense, he got a little monkey off his back. He's got to ultimately beat Ohio State to get the full monkey off his back. But for Harbaugh, that was a heck of a win today.
It was his biggest win to date, is what they were. Joel Klatt said so. I think Herb Street said so. So I would agree with him that this was Jim Harbaugh's biggest win at Michigan to date. But now we get to find out about Ohio State, who's still giving up a lot of points defensively. C.J. Stroud looks good, but Ohio State gets Michigan State this week. Then they get Michigan. So we will eliminate each other there in a little 2-week, 3-game roll there, and it'll be a lot of fun. But Ohio State still looks like the best team to me, but Michigan is gutty, and that was my favorite game of the day. I enjoyed watching that, especially when Sean McDonough said, we now have some precipitation that is mixed rain and pellets of snow. And I was like, I'm in for this. It looked really cool. It was a fun game.
That's Big Ten football for you there. You mentioned Ohio State. They were playing the spoiler makers of Purdue, but that magic ran out today, 59-31. That game was 35-7. So Ohio State controlled it basically from the beginning, from the jump. I mean, Purdue really was never in that game.
They were not. And that was the easiest game on the board for me this week. As much as I like Texas to beat Kansas, and Kansas won at 57-56 in overtime, I liked Ohio State and give all the points. And I think they ended up still covering. I think it was like 20.5. So, congratulations to Ohio State. They're in the mix. Oregon's looking pretty good out of the gate here against Washington State. So, I don't think we're going to have that huge of a shakeup coming up this week in the college football playoff rankings.
Notre Dame, 28-3 over Virginia. They just continue to hang in there. I mean, Cincinnati's their problem because Cincinnati, who, by the way, beat South Florida on Friday night, wasn't, just a dynamite blow-you-away win, but it's what Cincinnati's been doing. They are the problem. The problem for Virginia was they didn't have their quarterback tonight. So Notre Dame, 28-3. I watched maybe 5 minutes of that game. That game just didn't interest me at all. I'll tell you who's playing pretty well, though, is Oklahoma State, 63-17. They beat TCU.
Yep.
They're playing good football.
They really are. And that defense has been good. That offense has gotten better and better. It's not your typical Mike Gundy offense, even though they got a veteran quarterback still there, getting better and better each week. And, we'll get a little Oklahoma coming up soon. And, that may end up being the best team in the Big 12. And they still have some playoff possibilities there. They sort of replace Oklahoma as the Big 12's best shot at the playoffs all of a sudden.
Well, they beat TCU today. They get Texas Tech next week, who knocked Iowa State out of Big 12 contention today. And then Bedlam is 2 weeks from now. We probably, if I had to bet on it, we're going to get Bedlam back-to-back because Baylor's got the 2 losses. Oklahoma State holds the tiebreaker over Baylor, so if they finish in a tie with them. But if it's Oklahoma that loses Bedlam, they would finish in a tie with Baylor, assuming Baylor doesn't lose again. Oklahoma might not even make the Big 12 championship game. So that's something to watch there.
Could be Oklahoma State and Baylor playing for that championship.
Yep.
And that would be interesting. But Oklahoma, they did not look like a playoff team today, but Oklahoma State did. So maybe they are the best team in the Big 12.
In the SEC, Georgia, Tennessee played pretty well for the first, probably 20, 25 minutes of that game. But Georgia ended up flexing their muscle and looking like Georgia has looked. Just really good defense, make Tennessee earn absolutely everything they get. And the offense doesn't do anything that blows you away, but they end up scoring 35, 40 points a game, it seems, without doing anything that blows you away.
They look a lot like some old Alabama teams.
Yep,
where
they do.
It's like, oh, this is a hard-fought game. And then all of a sudden you look about midway through the third quarter and you're like, man, they're now 3 scores up. And
I know. Crazy.
I watched that game, and what did it end up being? 44-17 or something like that?
41-17.
41-17. And it actually felt closer than 41-17. And really, it was a garbage touchdown late that made it 41-17. It felt closer than 41-10. I mean, Tennessee didn't look like they were that outmatched. It just seemed like it'd be a good play, and then a backbreaker. Good play, backbreaker. And that's the way Georgia just strangled Tennessee for the win. They got a lot of good things going for them at Georgia right now. Well coached. Their quarterback, got a good head on his shoulder. His escapability, the ability to run. I think James Cook looks healthy as he's looked all year long. The running game's looking good. Probably still a little worried about that receiving core, having some playmakers, but man, they've got a lot of weapons, and that defense, it's legit.
Right before we went live, Ole Miss beat Texas A&M, effectively knocking. They haven't knocked Texas A&M out of Atlanta, but boy, it is going to be hard for A&M now. They need Alabama to lose out, and Bama's got Arkansas and Auburn left. obviously. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, which they're not out of it, by the way. They've got the 2 losses. They also need Alabama to lose a couple of games. So both those teams now need Alabama to tank. But you mentioned Lane Kiffin earlier. I mean, he still did some of the 4th downs. He still faked the field goal. But, really it was their defense, Jim, that won this game. DJ Durkin's defense, man, from year to year, that unit has made one heck of an improvement.
It really did. And, I know that A&M looked a lot better offensively in the second half for a while than they did in the first. But Jimbo Fisher, I don't know if he was – I mean, they've got a lot of weapons not at quarterback. And I know they got a young offensive line, but their quarterback, who had one brilliant game against Alabama, has not looked good. And Jimbo just did not seem to do anything to make the day easier for him until they got to the second half. And then he started to do some things. Calzada started to have some success, and you thought, okay, here they go. And then Ole Miss stands up and makes some plays. And I tell you, Ole Miss did it today without Matt Corral having a great game. I mean, there were a couple of times early, Matt Corral, kept Ole Miss out of the end zone, bouncing the ball around a couple of times, and they were in the red zone. Lane said he'd go into the locker room. It should have been 30-0 in the first half, and it was 15-0, and that's why that got interesting there in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, Corral had -5 rushing yards. You don't see Corral do that ever. But you mentioned Calzada. I mean, it is who he is, man. 24 of 42. Guy's a 50% passer. It's who he is. 237 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. I mean, they are just – he's not – Calzada is not improving at all. He is – I think this is his level. I think this is what you're going to get out of that Calzada. He had his, one great game against Alabama. That's going to be it for him. This is who the guy is.
Yeah, but just think about every time that he is back at Kyle Field when he's in his 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, they'll be able to show the clips from that Alabama game on the big screen, and he'll be able to stand up and wave, or he'll be able to speak at the College Station or Houston Quarterback Club, and they'll be able to show that video, and he'll be able to wave and give a nice speech, or he'll be able to buy a car dealership in Bryan, Texas, and say, "Hey, come to Calzada Chevy." And remember, I'm the guy who beat Alabama that one time. He had a heck of a night that night, slinging around the yard. He hasn't looked the same since.
All right, we got 2 minutes left. Just give me your overall thought. You want to pontificate on your boy Sark, who lost to Kansas, or is that his La Monroe?
Yeah,
you sound like Dan Mullen. You went Dan Mullen on me.
I mean, Dan Mullen looked horrible today, man. I mean, I'm not going to, he said some stuff about him about you can't. It's a win. You can't say negative stuff about wins. Yeah, you can. That was no knock on Samford, but when you go to the Swamp, you shouldn't give up 52 points to anybody. I don't care who's coaching your defense. UAB got a big win. That was my upset alert, and 21-14. Now they get the monster that is UTSA, nationally ranked on the road, and we'll see what Dwayne McBride, who's running the ball well, and Bill Clark and the guys can do, and it's a big opportunity for UAB next week. So I found that to be a little bit of interest, and that excites me a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good win for them, man. Marshall's a good team. Like you said, UTSA, you go out there and you try to play, first of all, spoiler for them as the undefeated team, and then second of all, position you to try to get in the championship game race there. Lone Soldier, real quick before we go, this was an interesting ending of that game. The BS rule about spiking the ball with less than 3 seconds left cost Miami the game. It is a rule. That didn't cost Miami the game. Letting Florida State drive it right down the field on them cost Miami the game. That ended the game for Miami, but it did not cost them the game.
Yeah. If I've ever got to take a piece of land away from some hostile foreigners, I want to take the Miami and Florida State fan base with me. I think they would do a good fight.
All right, that's the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. Go by and enjoy a great Culver's near you. We are live 9 to 1 Monday. All right. You want to do the after show, or are you headed to bed?
Well, I can sit and talk to you until my phone dies, like it did last week.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You guys have a great night.
Thank you
We
guys
need to
very
do
much.
we need to do one of these where we just we leave it live for Pac-12 After Dark and let people watch the game with us.
Well, I cannot tell you how many rules you're violating.
With these games behind me.
Yeah. All I was thinking about during the playoffs or World Series when we did that one, and the Braves were on behind you, I kept thinking the entire time. I said, "Oh, that'll get the old next round YouTube channel shut down pretty quickly." When we've got the name, image, and likeness of Major League Baseball up there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I had my old TV set up, I'd have it behind me too. But I do not have that now. I've got 3 little TVs all jacked up over here. I got a 70 and a 55 and a 50 maybe. So it doesn't look good. So I'm not showing it till I get a permanent situation.
Yeah, Trace asked if I was drinking Mountain Dew at 11. Actually, it was Diet Mountain Dew.
Yep.
Great sponsor,
part of the
Buffalo
sponsor.
Rock and Pepsi. Yep.
Yeah, part of the sponsorship. Just like the University of Montevallo. Part of the sponsorship.
Right. Caffeine doesn't really affect me that much. I can drink caffeine. I could go to bed right now. I'm not going to. I'm going to stay up and watch Oregon, Washington State. But I could go to bed right now. Caffeine just doesn't have that effect on me. I could use this.
I'm the same way.
I just like the look of that backdrop right there. But I could go. I'd have to change my lighting, obviously. But I could do that in the back. You like that? Is that any better?
Well, first of all, I can't see it. So
that's true.
Like
it's a long way away from me.
The way this is set up for me is I'm looking into a circular light now. So now that's why I keep looking off camera, is because all I have now is one big circle in my eyes. And then I'm on my phone and not my computer, so that's small. So all really it is, I can see a blurry you in a square holding up your shirt. And I can see that I am sort of spread out here in my camera angle. I can't read any of the comments. I can barely make out the word Culver's. So, no, I can't really tell. Stick with your backup. It's a good look. It's a good looking backup. Yeah. Stick with the one you got.
I'll do that. We just got a text in the next round text thread you're going to want to look at. So you got to get I don't know what is going on this text, but LA sent it to us in the next round text thread. Well, I tell you what, that would be entertaining if there was a way the listeners could participate in our next round text thread during a football Saturday. I think they would be highly entertained by that, don't you?
Yeah, it's a lot of what we do on the show.
It is
a lot of
probably
90% of it's what we do on the show. The 10% of it could get us in trouble.
I'm always surprised in the next round text thread how much football Rockstar actually watches, because Rockstar tonight sent us a random text about Kansas and Texas. I'm like, Rockstars? I mean, that's on ESPNU. It's not like you stumbled across it on ABC. That was on ESPNU. You had to dig to find that one.
Well, you know him. He can't concentrate on any one thing for 60 seconds. So I just imagine him on one TV just doing this nonstop.
Right.
Like I don't like people who are like, I can't believe you're watching the NFL game over college football on Thursday night. And I was like, well, I'm not. I'm watching the NFL and the college game. And in fact, I was watching the NFL, the college game, and a little Predator and St. Louis Blues hockey at that time. So I don't just, have one TV to where that's all I'm watching when I'm watching one. But I picture Rockstar only having one TV and clicking around like this because he can't stay focused on anything for longer than 60 seconds. But he did. He dropped a Kansas helmet comment on us.
He did.
And during the game knew enough that Sanford was taking it to Florida to update us on that.
Yeah, that game wasn't even on. You had to have streaming to get that one.
Yep.
Because that was his headline. Oh, hey, Washington State's about to tie this thing up heading to the half. Are you watching?
Of course they are. Of course they are, because I said Oregon's off to a great start. It looks like they're going to cruise.
Touchdown.
In typical landmine fashion.
Yep.
When it's 14-0, it becomes 14-14 just like that.
Yeah, look at that. How about Washington State, man? Don't even have a head coach, really. And here they are at Oregon. Boy, if they win this.
That's their best uniform.
Yeah, I agree. The gray pants. It's like Mississippi
Yep,
State. State should always wear those gray pants. Don't you agree?
I agree. It should always be in maroon helmets.
Yeah.
These guys should always wear that home and away. They should be like LSU. They should never
Yeah.
put on a different color.
No, I
And
agree completely with you. Oh, burn them.
Tennessee
Burn
should.
them
Oh
today.
my gosh. Oh, even the helmets. I mean, having the black
Yep.
stripes and outlines on the
Yep.
helmet. Nothing to do
Yep.
with the
Burn it
outcome.
today.
Just that's not Tennessee football to me. I
No.
want to I
Yeah,
want to
you
see the
burn.
orange.
Yep. You burn those jerseys today.
If I'm a Tennessee fan, I go to the stadium and pay my money. I want to see the orange.
Yep. Ole Miss had on their best uniform tonight.
No, it's not. No,
You don't like the
disagree
you
with you.
don't you don't like the
No,
you don't like the powder blue.
I like the powder blue helmet with the red jersey, gray pants.
Yeah.
The because I don't think you can match up the powder blue helmet and the powder blue jersey. They're a little off. They're not perfect.
Right.
That bothers me.
Right.
That bothers me.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of talented people who do these broadcasts, man. I
I don't even
always
know
wish
who's
I could
on
have been
this.
me either. I don't know any of their names, but I always wish I could be a play-by-play guy.
It's
Never
fun.
really,
I've
yeah.
done a good bit of it, nothing on a big level, but it's fun to do. It's like what we do on a daily basis, we're just kind of thinking out loud. You have to do a little more than that because you're driving the show, but I'm just able to think out loud basically. Um but play by play, it's like a painter. Like you got this canvas, you're having to paint a picture. Um like you mentioned Bob Wachuzin, who did the Auburn game. I think he's really good. He and Orlovsky do a lot of games together. I like Pash, who's Luganbill's guy.
Tom
Listen,
Hart. I like Tom Hart.
yeah, Tom Hart's really, really good. I love me some Sean McDonough. Anything I can watch with
Uh,
McDonough on there. McDonough and Blackledge are so good.
yeah, my favorite two are Sean McDonough and Gus Johnson.
Yeah,
And no knock against Chris Fowler. Love him. But I like McDonough. I like Gus. I like Fowler. Because I know it's a big game. I like Reese when he does play by play.
yeah, he does a
Like
good
Reese
job.
is a play by. Yeah, like Tom
But
Hart a
Gus,
lot though.
yeah, Tom Hart's really good. Gus and Klatt, um, I think Gus and Klatt have been good, and they've had so many good games. Had another one today, Baylor, and it won't shock me at all
Yeah.
that when the ratings come out, Baylor and Oklahoma is the highest rated game of the week. I mean, it's every week they've got one of the highest rated games.
Probably so today. It was going up against Michigan and Penn State, which could
Yeah, that
impact
I
it a
heard
little
it.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but there was
that may
nothing in the
open the
2:30 window.
no, which is why Georgia Tennessee may get something, or tonight Texas A&M and Ole
Yeah,
Miss may get some love there too. Um, just because Michigan Penn State was so good too, and was on ABC. There's a chance that split the audience.
yeah.
And you see what they're doing next week, right? ESPN is they have found to borrow a John Parker Wilson term, the honey hole.
What are they doing? I didn't see
Michigan
it.
Michigan State Ohio State is on 11 o'clock.
So they're
It's
gonna do. They're gonna. Well, what's the big noon kickoff?
I don't know, but I think they have the rights to that. They're putting it at 11 o'clock, and they're going game day right into Fowler and Herbstreit calling the game.
Let me check here. What do we got on the big noon kick? That's SEC. Hang on, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the big noon kick is next week.
I would
Let's see.
I would imagine
Week
it's Oklahoma
12.
State and somebody. No. It's
What?
Oregon, Utah. I bet. Well, no,
Oh,
they're
you
not
think
going to
they'll
do
show
that.
that? Well, they won't do it at
They're not going to put
noon.
that. No, they're not going to do that at 11, are they?
Yeah, Michigan State, Ohio State is 11 o'clock ABC.
ABC or ESPN?
It says ABC right here, and this is the ESPN app.
Okay.
I wonder if they've announced the big noon next week. But there aren't a whole lot of choices, Jim. Oregon, Utah
Who
is still
does?
TBD.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if that's a Fox or if that's a, that's a shared deal. I wonder if that's ESPN, ABC too. Could that be the prime time? Could that be the Sean McDonough game?
Could be. I'm trying to see if they've got prime time. Auburn, South Carolina is your 6 o'clock prime time, but it could be ABC prime. That's ESPN, Auburn, South Carolina, obviously.
Yeah. That'll be Joe Tess and McElroy, I bet.
You think so?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not a ton out there. Oregon, Utah is the biggest game. I bet you Fox does that one prime time, and that's where Klatt and Gus go. Is Oregon, Utah, if they've got that one. Carson on Twitter, I just forget where actually broadcasted this live. Somebody just answers this on Twitter. We're just sitting here talking. He says it's Oak State, Iowa State, which that lost some steam today.
Yeah, but still Oklahoma State. Is there a faster fan base?
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. That's Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Oklahoma, Iowa State. Oklahoma, Iowa State. That lost double steam today. Both of them lost.
Yeah, lost even more steam. There's no fan base that gets on the field faster than Baylor. I don't know if it's their state. Yeah, well, all their students, are. It's like a basketball design. They go the length of the field, and they must have. There's no hedges like at Auburn, so the ability to get on the field. They got on the field quick today, man. I mean, they get out there quick.
They did. I bet Lincoln didn't like that either, did he?
No.
I'll tell you, an interesting game next week is SMU Cincinnati. The way Cincinnati's playing wouldn't shock me if SMU wins that.
It wouldn't shock me if Cincinnati got up by 4 touchdowns and it ended up being a 1-score game.
Yeah,
that's sort of what they've been doing lately. Yeah,
comes down to a red zone stand. And you got Bama, Arkansas is the 2:30, obviously, but the rest of the SEC schedule sucks next week. Auburn, South Carolina, Bama, Arkansas is about it. Vandy, Ole Miss, that's SEC Network. Well, that's not a great schedule next week.
You think I could have just walked into the Swamp today without a ticket? I mean, there was nobody there for that game.
For what game?
Sanford, Florida.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they'd have let you in. I think they probably would have. I mean, you think they would have fired Mullen on the spot if he'd have lost that one? You think we would have gotten the weekend? Yeah. We've agreed to terms of a buyout or something like that.
Well, I almost tweeted, I wonder if there's a tarmac in Gainesville.
You're just driving to the nearest tarmac?
Yeah. I think he's done. I really do. I mean, I think this got so much steam today that's going to look like a loss when it's all said and done.
Yeah. I mean, you fire your defensive coordinator and then you give up the most points and a half that you have in school history, and you do it at Sanford. I mean, it wasn't Alabama there or Georgia or something like that. That's Sanford. No, I mean, no disrespect to Chris Hatcher and Sanford, but you don't expect them to go in and score the most points in a single half that Florida has given up in their school history,
or the most points that any FCS team has ever scored against an FBS team.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I love hats off to the kids in Waco for taunting Oklahoma with SEC as Baylor won the game today.
Yeah,
they were chanting SEC.
It's a tough day for the new SEC teams. Oklahoma loses at Baylor and Texas loses to Kansas. Yikes!
Yep. A lot of middle of the pack SEC fans will tell you, get used to it, Oklahoma and Texas. It's not an easy league. Not an easy league.
Yeah. By the way, that was a big win for Wake tonight because they get Clemson next week. 45-42, they beat NC State. Had they lost that one, Clemson could have won and probably going to the ACC championship game. It's going to be tough for Wake to miss the ACC championship game now.
I know. That was a fun game again, 45-42. If you ever want to watch points, watch that Wake defense.
Yeah, boy, they give up a ton, don't they? They've got Clemson next week and Boston College to finish.
The old border war, Wake and Boston.
Looks like you're going to get Wake and Pitt for the ACC championship game.
I wouldn't watch it if it was in the Belt Bowl.
Ooh, boy, that doesn't do a whole lot for me either, Jim. And that's
Yep.
your prime time, right? That's prime time game.
I'll be honest with you, the championship days, because it always seems like very few of them matter.
Yeah.
It's usually SEC championship, and if anything else is a game that has implications. But for the most part, championship weekend is a disappointment television-wise to me.
Yeah.
That's why I think if we
Yep.
ever go automatic bids and that's basically a playoff weekend, that'll be a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the Big Ten, I don't know why I'm just sitting here going through standings, but I am. Wisconsin only has Minnesota and Nebraska left. And they hold the tiebreak, obviously, over Iowa. So it looks like Wisconsin's going out of the West. And, boy, the East is interesting. If Michigan State or Michigan can beat Ohio State, you've got that. You could potentially have a three-way tie. I guess I don't know. I don't know if you can have a three-way tie, actually, because Michigan State, if they beat Ohio State, yeah, you can have a three-way tie. Huh. That's going to be interesting.
Not if Michigan State beats Ohio State, they would hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and then, well, because then Ohio State would turn around and beat Michigan and give Michigan 2 losses, so Michigan State would go. Yeah, you can't have a really three-way tie now. Well, there you go. All right. I'm going to watch the second half of this Washington State-Oregon game. That should be entertaining.
Yep. Boy, Oklahoma State's uniforms. Don't like their all blacks.
I don't either. It's better than Tennessee's all black.
I don't want to sound like the old guy, but sometimes I have to wait for a second to realize who I'm watching play when I see highlights. I'm like,
Yep.
now, who is that? Oh, that's Oklahoma State.
Did you see this walk-off kick right here at Texas Tech? That's 62 yards.
62 yards.
Yeah. I know you hate it when people say this, but it would have been good from 65 or 70.
Oh, it made the net, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it hit the bottom of the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, and this South Dakota ending.
Oh, that's crazy. Gara Ubai is the guy who kicked it for Texas Tech. 62 yards, walk-off to win it. So do they have an indoor stadium at South Dakota like they do at Idaho and North Dakota?
I think so.
So they just build big convocation centers like for basketball, track, and everything?
Yeah, I think so. And I guess the weather sucks so bad up there this time of year you have to do it, don't you?
Yeah. Well, that's good that they could do that.
Yeah. Harry makes a good point. It is kind of weird. That was Georgia's last SEC game day. They got 2 more weeks, and they're done with SEC.
That was it for Georgia? They don't have one more? I know they have Georgia Tech at the end.
Yeah, they go out of conference, the Joel Klatt game next week, and then Georgia Tech, who's struggling.
Oh, so they play somebody bad?
Yeah, let me
next week
play. Yeah, I think it's Georgia. It might be Georgia Southern who. You about to say Klatt won't get on Georgia? He only gets on Alabama?
No, he won't get on that. It only draws headlines if it's Alabama he talks about.
Wow.
Says Jimmy Alabama. I know.
I
love Klatt. Klatt is one of the smartest people on television. And he knows what drives. He knows what drives the ratings.
They got Charleston Southern.
For his Fox friends, it's bashing Southern teams.
They got Charleston Southern and then Georgia Tech, and our boy Jeff Collins in trouble there at Georgia Tech. They're 3-7. Ooh, they've got their next 2 are Notre Dame and Georgia. How about that finish?
Yep. I look at it as an opportunity, Brown. Imagine ending the year with wins over Notre Dame and Georgia, being 5-7.
That would be one heck of an ending. You're absolutely right.
It would be
A very happy,
would be.
very happy ending for Jeff Collins, if you will.
Such a good guy.
I like him.
You know,
I
tough-
like him, but
Yeah.
it was a tough job.
Who had the best day of people we share agents with? Nobody better than Dave Aranda, right?
Yeah, Dave Aranda would have to be beating Oklahoma. I was thinking what Dabo did. Dabo beat UConn, so it wouldn't be Dabo. I'm trying to think of all their clients. Dabo beat UConn. Aranda won. Neil Brown lost, right? Harson lost. I'll tell you what, that was a double because they got Jeff Grimes too. So Jeff Grimes and Dave Aranda. That was a daily double there.
Yeah, Grimes very much could be on his way to being a head coach somewhere.
I think so. I mean, he flipped that offense around. Their offense was so stagnant last year, and they've been really
did it
good
at
this year.
BYU too.
Yeah,
did it at BYU too.
yeah. I think they've got Beamer, and he lost.
Oh, but he's had a
Aranda
good
and
year.
Grimes. He has. I think he could be. He's not going to get Coach of the Year. That's probably going to go to Kirby or something like that. But I think if they beat Auburn, that gets bowl eligible. He could be Coach of the Year. I don't think they'll beat Auburn. I don't know. You got to watch that Bo Nix thing. I mean, if it's TJ Finley, they could beat Auburn.
But Sam Pittman's had some moments, right?
Yeah. They won tonight.
Jimbo had some moments until they lose tonight.
I mean,
he had turned it around.
Yeah. I mean, if Kiffin, if they win the next two and they finish 10-2, do you not give it to Kiffin?
Yeah, I mean, Kiffin's had moments. Kirby's the best team in the country. He could be on his way to a national championship. Beamer's done more with less. I mean, Heupel's done a really good job. I mean, that's 6 people right there.
Yep. I'm right. I mean, they're Ole Miss. They've only got the 2 losses, right? Auburn and Alabama.
I thought they had 3.
No, they've only got the 2.
Okay.
They play Vandy next. They play Vandy next week, and then the Egg Bowl.
That Egg Bowl will be fun. Lane was really good on game day today.
I didn't get to see it. I was driving to my mom and dad's.
Oh.
I got there right at the end when he was doing the last pick.
Yeah, he was guest picker. Picked Mississippi State to beat Auburn.
Yeah,
the whole panel picked Auburn.
Yeah. Did he say Mike Leach is the best offensive coach in the Southeastern Conference? Didn't he say that?
He said Leach is the best offensive play caller in the conference. I'll take Mississippi State.
Funny.
And then all the fans are like, "Ooh!"
That's
and he
funny.
turned around. He went like this, and then Herb Street says, "Smart play by you. You still got to play them." And he was like, nodding his head.
How fun does that game look, though? Thanksgiving night, the Egg Bowl, with those 2 offenses, that looks like a blast right there.
Yep, good old-fashioned hate's what that is.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game.
No offense to Georgia and Georgia Tech.
Oh, that has not lived up to that in a long time.
Yeah, they should buy that away from them.
Yeah.
When I think of good old-fashioned hate, I don't think of Georgia Tech. I think of Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Did you write down, I'm not asking you to get it right now, but did you write down our 3 guarantees?
Yes.
I know 2 of mine. One was that Florida State would go 5-7. They were 4-6 and play Boston College in Florida. And the other one was that Ole Miss would go 10-2. I think I'm going to nail both those. I can't remember what my third one was.
I can't either. I can't remember who. Usually I pick in the upset alert. I just remember because I picked UAB today.
I had Baylor. I can't remember who Lance had. It might be Washington State because he's like them all week, hasn't he?
May have been.
Yeah,
because I think he did draw the cool logo.
Didn't Wimp have Oklahoma? Did Wimp have Oklahoma State? By the way, that's who he picked, right?
Yeah,
They
11
blew
to 1.
out TCU. He is 11-1. That is crazy.
Yeah. Basketball was fun Friday night. Alabama looked good again against a pretty good little South Dakota State team. Auburn dominated. UAB dominated again. So off to a good start, 2-0. If nobody ever loses, it'll be the best basketball season ever.
You think that could happen?
Well, eventually Alabama and Auburn play each other twice.
Right.
But if everybody's undefeated or only 2 losses, it'd be great.
Yeah.
You think Will Rogers ever soaks his arm?
How many passes?
55 today.
55?
55 today.
I mean, that was crazy, man. It was just like middle of the second quarter, all of a sudden everything started working for them. They got that rhythm. And then Auburn never would do anything different defensively. And he just carved them up, man.
It just seemed like the secondary was so passive. They were not aggressive at all.
They weren't. They didn't rush the passer any. 6 touchdown passes.
Just jump a route. If you get beat over the head, I mean, they're going to score anyway. Just jump a route.
2, 3, 4,
I think
5.
I'm looking at Gene Chizik on one of my TVs right now. I wonder if he watches a game like that and goes, "What the hell are we doing?"
Yeah, he threw to 10 receivers too. How about that?
I mean, if you're a great defensive mind like Gene Chizik, it must frustrate you to watch football nowadays.
Yeah. You know, I tell you though, like on the offensive side, Lincoln Riley has lost his swagger as a play caller.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's so weird. He used to be so good at that, and he has completely lost his swagger as a play caller.
I don't want to sound like Joel Clapp, but is it possible that he just didn't have as good a quarterback as he used to have? You know?
I mean, that's possible, yeah.
It's that he just didn't have as good a quarterback as he used to have.
That's certainly possible. I mean, I don't think it's funny, you know, when that Williams kid first came in, everybody was talking about, do you remember, could he possibly make New York even starting this late? Could he be in the Heisman finalist?
Yeah.
I mean, how silly does that conversation seem?
Yep. It does. It does. That Baylor Stadium, man, that's a pretty cool stadium too.
You know, when you come into Waco from the north, like if you're coming from Dallas, it dominates the skyline and it looks massive. And it's only because it's all built, you know, a lot of stadiums, a little bit of it's underground, you know, but that's all built just, you know, on top of the earth or whatever, however you would say that, not underground. And it looks massive. And then when you start looking at it, you're like, this thing only holds 65,000, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a cool looking little stadium. I always remember Chip Brown telling us they've got the nicest facilities in the Big 12. And I
mean, it
looked
looks
at
like
the facilities.
It looks like they have 2 bridges that are just, you know, for bikes and walkways to go from the football practice area over to the stadium and from campus over to the stadium. Is that true?
The stadium's right on the edge of town, and it's right on the edge of campus. It's like the first thing you see when you come into Waco. And it's on the edge of campus. And I'm about to look, but I think the Brazos River runs right next to it. And I want to say
I know that, but it looks like the campus is across the river, and you have to cross the river from campus to get to the stadium.
You do. It's built on the other side of the river from the campus. The campus goes right to the Brazos River, and you have to cross it to get to the stadium, McLean Stadium. It's a neat little stadium.
Be pretty cool to have a campus so close to a cool little river like that. Have little Phi Mu Chi Omega tubing days. Go out and float down the Brazos. Be a great way to pass a Tuesday afternoon in college. We'll do a little recruiting for Baylor right now. What do you What are you guys doing? We've got the tubes. We're about to go down and float around with the 5Mus. You want to come? Sure.
What's your pick on the second half of this Washington State Oregon game? I'm gonna get
Oregon easy.
I'm gonna get the live line for you right here.
Okay, doesn't matter. Oregon
is
Michigan
favored
State
6.5.
Oh, easy. I'd bet the house on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure Washington State will score.
You're playing reverse psychology here is what you're doing.
They've already turned it over twice.
Well, it's 14-14 still. Not one of my favorite broadcast crews here.
Oh, Dave Fleming and Rod Gilmore.
Yep.
I hope Dave lives on the West Coast.
Well, he does games out there all the time. I think he does a baseball team out there.
You know, Dave looks like when Stan's son gets a little older, he could be Stan's son.
Yep.
Or Stan
he
White's
does look
brother.
he does look like a young guy, doesn't he? That Dave Fleming. I'm going to Google him here real quick.
He does. He's probably like late 30s, and he looks like he's 18.
Yep. Oh, he's the voice of the Giants. That's right. I knew that.
Is he really now?
Yeah, he's my age. How about that? He's 45.
He's that old?
Yeah, he looks way younger than me, doesn't he?
Wow.
Look at you, Georgia. Oregon, I thought was going to run that kickoff back.
I know my football, bro.
Oh.
It's okay. You know I'm 27 seconds behind you on my DirecTV stream.
Yeah, because you're on DirecTV
I'm just now
stream.
seeing it. Yeah. Oh, look at that, man. He's all the way back to the 44.
Yep. Yeah, you're probably going to be right. Oregon's probably going to win this thing. They're favored. Though 6.5 is the second half line.
You know, the only thing longer than this live broadcast tonight?
What's that?
Taylor Swift's new version of All Too Well.
Have you listened?
To all 10 minutes of it, absolutely.
Hey, look at the sideline reporter's name. It's that Stormy Bumatami girl.
Yes. We are a brutal society that we pick people apart on television.
I'm not picking her apart. I'm just saying. It's an interesting name.
Well, in my head. I thought the first thing I said was, in my head, I didn't say it out loud. I just thought, man, her hair is really frizzy. It must be humid there in Oregon. And I mean, so what if her hair is frizzy? Why would I even think that?
Yeah.
But I just instantly did that.
Who cares?
To think that in Birmingham, Alabama, at night one time, at one given night for about 15 years during sports, you could flip around and see people as ugly as Rick Carly, Mike Rada, and Jim Dunaway.
That's right.
We beat the odds in Birmingham in an industry that is made up of good looks. That at one point you could see all three of us on the air at one time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all she's telling me is what the Washington State interim coach told her on the way out of the locker room.
Can you name the interim coach of Washington State?
No, I really cannot. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
I know Nick Rolovich was the head coach, but they had half their staff got fired with Rolovich, right?
Did you see the GIF the guys behind the glass made of me dancing during the timeout after Lance and you left the studio? And I started dancing around after getting basically $400 worth of value on my Rams ticket from him.
Yep. Oh, how about that Robert Woods injury? That's crazy.
Brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Brutal. Only thing to be worse if Stafford ran into a cup and dislocated both their knees.
Oh, wow. Don't even say it out loud.
Oh, there's no way that would happen. Stetson Bennett, though, man. Hats off to him.
Really average numbers, but, man, they just keep winning the games.
You know, honest to goodness, I'm surprised my batteries have lasted this long.
Yeah, me too. I'm at 67%, so I got a ways to go.
I can't see mine. I'm expecting it to die at any second.
All right. Well, you want to wrap up?
Man, I've been wrapped. I can go all night.
Kevin says, look at this, pretty funny. You should see what the closed caption spells out what y'all are saying. I didn't even know closed caption. He's on Facebook. I guess he's doing it on closed caption.
Oh,
it's got to be pretty
funny. I
funny.
can't even imagine. With our southern accents,
I'll pull it up.
I can't imagine.
I know.
Me not even enunciating.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up and see. Um,
It's a touchdown.
no, I don't have it on. Oh, there it is. Oh, wait a minute. It's not on. They might have just given up, Jim.
It's not some person sitting there typing it, Brown. You make it sound like that one person said, "I can't do this."
No, I think the computer gave up. The computer's like, I'm out, man. I'm just going to pretend I got a virus. We're done.
I know that Siri cannot get me on my Bluetooth when I'm riding down the road. I send some yanked up messages to people.
Yeah, you sent me one the other day. I can't remember what it was. I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yep.
Kevin says he can't figure out how to turn it off. I can't figure out how to turn it on. That's what she said. But he can't get the closed caption off. I can't turn it on. 21-14. I mean, Oregon goes right down the field after you said they would win.
Yep. Hard to believe Kirby's in his 6th season at Georgia.
That really is hard to believe. I agree.
Time goes by
I
really
agree.
quick, man.
It does. Time flies, man. Season will be over before you know it.
I wore a shirt this week that I bought in Arizona covering Oregon and Auburn. And Gene Chizik was the coach of Auburn, and Chip Kelly was the coach of Oregon. They were playing for the national championship, and Cam Newton was the quarterback, and his career is almost over now. And I wore that shirt, for the 3rd time this week. Not the 3rd time this week, but the 3rd time since I bought it.
The 3rd time ever? Like, you keep up with how many times you've worn a shirt?
I mean, I don't know exactly 3 times, but I haven't worn it a lot. Yeah. But I wore it in Arizona at night because it was cold. I've worn it once or twice since then, and I wore it this week. Well, part of the reason why it is in the medium to skinny Jim side of my closet.
Right. Yeah.
So many times in the last 10 years, I've had to wear from the right side of the closet.
Right.
Which really I should move to the left side of the closet, because the right side of the closet seems like it should be the good side. But really, that's Fat Jim's side.
Yeah. All right. I've got the closed captions on now. It is pretty funny.
Read back what I said about my closets.
Really, that's fat, all right. It said you should move it to the right side of your car.
That's crazy. How many times does it?
All right.
How many times does it say? I say, well, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you. That's a catchphrase that I say way too much. That and part of the show is brought to you by.
You have to say that. People get on to me for saying, like I would say, I mean, this Alabama offense is getting better, right? I ask you guys, like I'm looking for your affirmation. Do you notice that?
I mean, not as bad as one of our guests who will always say, we have one guest, I bet you can name him, that will say, all right, Oregon's going down the field here, and you know what that means for Oregon? It means that they're going to get another touchdown here. He will answer our questions by asking a question back to us, pausing for a second, and you feel like you should answer, but then he answers it.
Is that Barrett?
No, it's not Barrett. It's a guy we hadn't had on a long time, but he's one of our favorite guests, a really great guy. If you can't figure it out, it would be like, so Alabama's without a running back now, so you know what that means, right? Right. It means they have to have someone else step up.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Played at Tennessee. Does a lot of NFL games
now. Charles Davis. Yeah, he does do that. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Charles Davis.
Yeah, I love.
I'm not nailing it. I'm not nailing it exactly the way he does it, but like he will
Yeah.
not let you check out of an interview. You've got to pay attention
Yeah.
because he'll ask you a
Yeah.
question back in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
He does the rhetorical question, and you don't know if you're supposed to answer
Yep.
or not. Yeah.
Yep. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, Charles. All right, man. Turn this off. I've seen the highlights all. I'm back to Sanford, Florida. I've seen them all.
We're back. Are you going to watch the end of Oregon Washington State? See if you're right.
I am. Big second and 11 play. The
All
Oregon
right.
defense is just so good.
Crystal ball, man. All right. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. How long did this go? Hour and 30 minutes we went. So this is all on YouTube, right?
I don't know, man. You're
I
probably
think so.
hurting our numbers somehow.
How am I hurting our numbers?
That you've let this go an hour and 30 minutes. Our tech
I think I
people,
helped our numbers.
our Saber metric people are going to come back and say, you know, our time listening was really good this past week, except it went to the tank on Saturday night, where some idiots did something, went 90 minutes doing nothing.
I bet you. Oh, crap. I can't find it. I was going to find it on. I bet you it did pretty well. Here we are. I'm looking at it right now. I think you're going to be wrong about that.
I just read the lips of the state trooper walking Dan Mullen off the field. He said, "Why don't you walk in front of me?"
He said, Dan, it's been fun, man. Oh, they're moving you. They're moving you to a different trooper post. Oh no, I'm not the one.
Yeah. No, you walk ahead of me, Dan.
Yep.
If they're going to hit you, I'd rather they hit you, not try to throw over me to hit you.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. Thanks for the hour and a half you gave us. I don't know what this last 45 minutes has been, but I've enjoyed it. See you guys Monday.